In 1996, scientists cloned Dolly the sheep in Scotland. It was a major scientific breakthrough, and before you knew it, clones invaded the coaster world also. Okay, it may not have happened exactly like that, and clones is kind of a dirty word in the coaster world. But bottom line is, if these coasters weren't popular with the general public, they wouldn't be cloned. Parks and manufacturers love building clones. They get a tried and true model with no research and development. Just copy and paste from their catalog. And even though traveling coaster enthusiasts get tired of it, 99% of the general public is none the wiser. I've been around, and yeah, clones are annoying, but that doesn't mean they're bad. Not at all. Today, let's celebrate the coasters we ride over and over again, just in different locations. These are the world's best coaster clones. First, I want to thank my Patreons and my new member, Nick Asta. If you want bonus access, bonus content, behind the scenes videos, a shout out when you join, and your name on this fancy Patreon screen, follow the link below and join. For this video's purpose, I'm considering a true clone as a coaster that has at least 3 installations. 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a trend. Therefore, you won't see the Ride of Steel clones on here, or Mr. Freeze. Griffin and Shikra both have clones. Bat at Kings Island and Vortex at Canada's Wonderland. Raptor at Cedar Point and Monster at Walligator in France. The Disney Tron coasters. And probably the winner if I was just including 2 as clones. Flash at Liwa Adventure and Hypercoaster at Land of Legends. If the layout is basically the same, but there's one small change or some very minor differences, I'm still counting it. First, some honorable mentions. The Intamin Halfpipe and Surf Rider are about the same thing, a giant U-shaped coaster, the car having spinning seats, using LSMs to rock the train back and forth. These can be fun. Sometimes they don't really spin and it's kinda lame, but a good fun ride for parks that don't have a lot of space. On a similar note, Intamin Impulse coasters had their time back in the early 2000s, also using a multi-pass launch. You're just under the track and it's much longer, faster, and taller. These come in a few variations, but their 56-meter twist and spike version is their most popular. Mock Rides built Bluefire at Europa Park in 2009, and we've seen 9 others around Europe and Asia. Plus, Steel Taipan in Australia that has a multi-pass launch and a back spike. These are major launch coasters, 3,500 feet a track, 4 inversions, 125 feet tall. But they don't have the best reputation, being too mild, and based on my rides on Steel Taipan, I get it. Mars started making spinning coasters back in 2000. They have various versions of this, but their most popular is the one I've ridden several times, their SC2000 model. There are 6 of these in America, and I've ridden most of them. Very intense complete rides, and can be extra fun if you ride with an off-balance car. Gerstlauer also makes great spinning coasters, and of their 16, half of them have been custom models. I am most familiar with their 420x4 model, also known as the Pandemonium coasters at the Six Flags parks. There are 4 of these, and I've had great times on all of them. Again, try to ride this off balance for the best experience. Schwarzkopf has a lot of clones out there, building mostly portable rides on rectangle plots of land. Not to say they haven't built some great custom permanent coasters, but portable clones are their bread and butter. One I want to mention is their Jetstar 2, 11 total, the one I've ridden being at Lagoon, and these are kinda janky but super intense, borderline scary to ride. The last honorable mention goes to another Schwarzkopf, their Looping Star. There are 8 of these, only 3 remain, the easiest one to ride being right here in Oklahoma, Silver Bullet at Frontier City. After that drop and vertical loop, it's a bunch of turns where you're sliding around your seat, and one good airtime pop before the end. Let's carry on the Schwarzkopf theme and kick off the top 15 with one of their great clone models. Number 15, the Schwarzkopf Wildcat. 35 of these have came and went, starting in 1964. There are some variations, but I think they all achieve the same goal. A single car on those tiny thin rails, big drops. Not really airtime filled, but they do make your stomach drop. You feel the speed at the bottom of those hills, and that's kind of freaky when you're riding those tiny thin rails, ending with a helix. I've never met a Wildcat I wasn't impressed with. Number 14, the Gerstlauer Eurofighter, 320-meter version. There are 26 Eurofighters out there, defined by their beyond vertical drops and compact inversion-filled layouts, being built around the world for 21 years now, but not all of these are the same. We got 10 custom models and a mess of various clones, so I'm going with the most popular one, the 320-meter version, 7 of them around the world. Adrenaline Peak and Hydrus don't end with a helix the way Untamed does, but the rest of the coaster is the same. 72-foot drop at 97 degrees, a loop, a cutback, and a heartline roll, just over 1,000 feet of track. Very short, but very insane. Number 13, the Aero Shuttle Loop. 8 of these were built, mostly in the late 70s and early 80s. Only 2 still stand. The one operating in America is right back here in Oklahoma, Diamondback at Frontier City. These use a winch launch to push the train off a platform into a vertical loop. that giving some insane airtime in the back. And then you go into another platform, stop, and you launch backwards. This will make your stomach drop in the back, and if you're in the front, get ready for a major pop of backwards airtime. It's old, it's not that complicated, but still offers world-class forces. Number 12, the Schwarzkopf shuttle loop. Some use a flywheel launch, others use a weight drop. Either way, it's the same layout for all 12 installations. You launch at the station, much more of a punchy launch on the Aero shuttle loop, into a loop, up a big spike, and drop down to do it all backwards, back through the station, into a back spike and the right ends. These are dying off fast. Montezuma's Revenge was my first looping coaster, and that's closed down for renovation, and it won't have the same old school launch. But don't lose hope. We may get back the coaster that used to be known as Laser Loop at Kennywood. Right now, it's sitting in pieces at Indiana Beach, and hopefully it gets new life. Number 11, the Premier Ride Spaghetti Bowl Coaster. Its official name is the LIM Coaster, and 5 of these are out there. 4 of them are actually right here in America. The 2 Flight of Fears at Kings Island and Kings Dominion, as well as Joker's Jinx at Six Flags America, and Poltergeist at Fiesta Texas. These launch you right at the station, get up to 60 miles an hour, into an insane layout of head choppers, 4 inversions, the ride getting crazier and crazier as you wind down to the ground. Flight of Fear has the darkness factor, but the outside versions let you see all the supports in the track zoom by you. All around, very solid coasters. Number 10, the Togo Ultra Twister. There have been 7 of these, mostly in Japan, but one did make its rounds in the US, starting at Great Adventure, finishing its run at Astroworld in 2005. These are all mostly the same. There is one that has a dive loop instead of a switch track, but that layout is the same. A lift about 100 feet tall, a near vertical drop, a heartline roll, then it reverses, either by a switch track or a dive loop, and then 2 more inline twists. I missed the American version, but I hope to ride at least one of these in Japan. 3 of them still exist. Number 9, the S&S El Locos. Aside from the coaster actually called El Loco at the Adventure Dome, the other 5 have about the same layout. Some are taller, some are steeper, but the order of elements are the same. These rise up about 100 feet, have a drop that goes about halfway down. That ranges from 110 degrees all the way to 120 degrees. That being Green Lantern at Movie World, going into weird angles, Outer Banks, good airtime, a diving inline twist, just great forces. And when you can ride this with just a lap bar, even better. The only one in America is Steel Hog at Indiana Beach, actually the original model. Number 8, the Premier Ride Skyrocket 2. This debuted with Superman Ultimate Flight at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, and all 11 coasters are pretty much the same. Some have 3 cars instead of 2, some have comfort collars instead of just lap bars, but they all start with a multi-pass launch and hit 62 miles an hour, twist up 150 feet, have a crazy hang time roll, have a vertical twisted drop down, and a non-inverting loop to end. These are great because they take up a tiny plot of land, and they stack all kinds of forces into 863 feet of track. Number 7, the Intamin 10 Inversion Coaster. Starting with Colossus at Thorpe Park. When this opened in 2002, it was the first coaster to hit 10 inversions. Then, 6 more followed. The more popular version is a bit taller and longer, but the elements are all the same. Those are 108 feet tall, almost 2,900 feet of track, starting with a loop, Cobra roll, 2 corkscrews, 4 consecutive heartline rolls, and then 1 more roll before it hits the brakes, squeezing in that 10th inversion. Colossus doesn't have a great reputation, but some of the newer models, like Sick at Flamingo Land, those have just a lap bar, so they're probably a lot more pleasant. Number 6, the Vekoma Top Gun. Of all the new age Vekoma models, this one has caught on the most. 6 of these have been built in China, starting in 2021. That short 2-car train having a lot of agility, launching into a rollover camelback, a total of 4 inversions, crossovers, airtime hills. Just the perfect thrill coaster for a small plot of land, and hopefully we see this model spread outside of China in the years to come. Number 5, the B&M Superman Flyers. In 2002, the same year B&M built their first flyer, that being Air at Alton Towers. They also built Superman Ultimate Flight for Six Flags Over Georgia, this being contoured for its terrain. But that didn't stop Six Flags from ordering 2 more and putting them in the parking lots of Great Adventure and Great America. And then China's Happy Valley ordered the same clone in 2006, Crystal Wing. So there are 4 of these out there, and I'm sure most of you have come across at least one of them at some point. This has a 100-foot drop into a pretzel loop, one of the most demonic elements ever designed, putting forces on your body that are hard to handle. But from there, it's just a fun flying experience and impossible not to enjoy. Number 4, the Vekoma Giant Inverted Boomerang. Vekoma isn't done yet, and it's not even stopping at number 4. They introduced a giant inverted boomerang in 2001, building 3 for the Six Flags chain, a variation on their Invertigo model, just making it way taller, giving it vertical spikes, and having a layout that crosses over itself. That loop goes right over the station. 177 feet tall, 62 miles an hour, just an absolute riot, and took the boomerang experience to the next level. The only American version left is all the way up in northern Idaho, Aftershock at Silverwood, and 3 others in Spain, China, and Russia. Number 3. The Vekoma Flying Dutchman. Who would have thought Vekoma would take 2 of the top 4 spots, and neither one would be a new model. The Flying Dutchman was introduced in 2000, stealth at Paramount Square America being the first large-scale attempt at a flying coaster. And as you would expect with all those moving parts, it was a maintenance headache. Vekoma sold 2 more in the following year, and none after that. I've always liked these rides, X-Flight and Firebird still in my top 100, going up a 115-foot lift hill on your back, flipping over and flying around. You actually spend a lot of time on your back, which is kinda crazy, that vertical loop being absolutely nuts, and then you have the finale. This is where this entry might be controversial. The original had 2 corkscrews and went back to the station. The 2 that came in 2001 had inline twists and ended with a helix. So, are these really clones? No. Is it close enough? In my opinion, yes. So, there are 3 of these and it qualifies. The prototype Stealth was moved to Carowinds and that shut down this year. X-Flight was moved to Kings Island as Firehawk and that closed in 2018. So, if you want to ride an original Vekoma Flying Dutchman, you have to go to Six Flags America and ride Batwing. That is, unless Six Flags takes it down before this video drops. No joke, that might actually happen. I'm recording this on December 24th, and that might really happen. Number 2, the B&M Batman Inverts. The first ever under-the-track coaster that went upside down. B&M made a big splash with Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America in 1992. Six Flags was so impressed, they filled their parks with the exact same model, and now we have 12 around the world, including Japan and Spain. This was made to be cloned, on a rectangle plot of land, 105 feet tall, 2,700 feet of track, 5 inversions, and these were successful for a reason. They're super intense, 32 people can ride at a time, and this helped make B&M one of the top players in the entire industry. Number 1, the RMC Raptor prototype. We knew that RMC was working on a single rail model leading up to 2018, and they sold the first 2 that opened within 1 month of each other, Railblazer at California's Great America and Wonder Woman at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. A 100-foot drop, 1,800 feet of track, pacing that's out of this world, so much whip, so much ejector airtime, it leaves you breathless by the end. RMC has built 3 more of these, same layout, just with some modifications. The most obvious one is the dip off the lift. The originals would dip down, rise up, and go into its vertical drop, starting with Silverwood's Stunt Pilot, and then Korea's Skull and Hattie, and next year's Fire Runner at Lost Island. They have a flat turnaround off that lift. They also have a different number of cars in the train. So, obviously not enough to say the ride's that much different. These rides are incredible. It seems like some coasters hold back on the forces, and this doubles down on them. So, in my opinion, this is the world's best clone. That's a wrap on this video. Let me know what you think of the list, and what you would add or change around. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. Also, check out my second channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.